Welcome to Kim Talks Resilience, where we share stories of insight and inspiration in life, love, and business with resilient women from around the world. Speaking with authors, entrepreneurs, founders, and coaches to learn their strategies for a more resilient life so we can all build the life we love. I'm your host, Kim Hayden. Hello and welcome back. For those who are just joining us for the very first time at Kim Talks Resilience, this is where I get the opportunity to get my PhD in amazing women. So by interviewing women to learn more of, all the different topics, all the different subjects out there, from money to home management to building a business to, how to write a book, all these things, because I don't know about you, but I want to live the biggest, fullest life out there. And, story is a currency. It's a true currency, and success leaves clues. Success is what we can all learn from. So by bringing on experts such as our next guest, we get to see, what does success look like and how can we model our lives a little bit better? How can we live our lives a little bit richer? So author, coach, and self-proclaimed chocoholic, Patti Handy spent a combined 20 years as a financial advisor and mortgage advisor. After countless conversations with women, Patti decided to pursue her dream of financial coaching for women. Having gone through divorce as a mother with an 18-month-old, she can relate to many of the challenges women face, not to mention the fear and uncertainty that can impact financial decisions. Patti is a certified executive coach, a certified life coach, holds a real estate broker's license, and is a 4 times published author. So let's bring Patti in and learn everything that our mother and schools did not teach us. Hi, Patti.
Great to see you, Kim. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I as soon as Patti came on, I said, it's funny because she reminds me of a brunette Susie Orman. And it's funny because as soon as I said that to you, you said you've heard that before.
I have.
It's the
Yeah,
money and the haircut.
yeah, I guess so, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So, Patty, I always like to start this out with giving us a bit of a pre-frame, build out who is Patty, because I do believe that there's breadcrumbs within our stories that we can all connect with and say, okay, if she can do it, I can too. So, share with us, who is Patty?
Absolutely. Well, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version because my real story could probably take a whole episode. So the Reader's Digest version is I'm first and foremost a mom. I have an amazing son who's now almost 27, and very, very proud of him. But I, came from a household with 5 kids, and money was one of those conversations where, because my dad was the sole provider, my mom was the at home, take care of all the 5 little rugrats. It was a situation where money was tight. We were always watching money, and the conversations usually were from scarcity, and you've got to work your butt off to earn money. And so there was that money story that we heard. Fast forward, though, I went into the financial world very early on after college, and was in corporate banking essentially for many years. Had my son, then went through a divorce. My husband was. Or I should say, I was the one that took care of the money in the marriage. I was the one that did the investing, and he didn't know what he was doing financially, so I took over everything. But we got divorced when my son was 18 months old, and I did not want to put him in daycare because he was essentially losing dad full time. I didn't want him to lose mom full time, so I went into the mortgage business, which allowed me to work at home and have a little creative schedule and work my own schedule. And then I found that world was very transactional. I enjoyed it, but it was very transactional. Decided to pivot over into financial services, became a financial advisor, and really enjoyed that. But kind of a culmination of all those years of working with people in money in some capacity. I had so many conversations with ladies with regards to managing money, investing money, not knowing what to do with it, feeling, the common theme was I'm overwhelmed, I'm afraid of it, I don't understand it. My husband took care of it. And that's kind of one of the pieces that was the decision for me to leave my comfortable role as a financial advisor and pivot and go into financial coaching. And I work primarily with divorced, widowed, and single women to really help them, become financially confident, comfortable, and impact them in a bigger way. So that's the high level short version.
High level short version. Um, I'm just like, my mind is kind of exploding because I know the statistics out there on both, women in their 40s transitioning from corporate world security to entrepreneurship satisfaction. I also know the statistics around women over 65, and where, statistically more women are impoverished in their senior years than men. There's so many of these things that I would say come into play around what you're working to avoid or what you're working to re-educate. It's almost like reprogramming. Um, let's go into what you do first, and then like I said, just so you know, I am looking down is because I've got a glass top desk and I've got my markers, and I am writing fast and furiously because you're saying such amazing things that I'm going, oh, I want to ask that, I want to ask that. So I'm going to have you just take it away, what you do, and what your clients expect, or what they can anticipate in working with you.
I was asked recently if I had to say what I do in 10 words or less, what would I say? And I came up with 7 words. So I'll keep this really
Awesome.
short. I help women get comfortable with money.
Okay.
And that is really the overarching piece of what I do. So as a financial coach, there's a lot of interwoven life coaching, and there's the actual financial coaching. So we get into the mechanics of money. We talk about investing, we talk about credit and spending and saving and debt, and the mechanics of buying a house on your own, and some of those pieces. One of the most interesting pieces of what I do, which I think has the greatest impact that people don't realize, is we talk about their money story and their relationship with money and their beliefs about money, what they learned as a child and what they had heard as a child, and what that programming is in our subconscious mind, and how that affects our everyday life today, and how that affects our ability to manage our money. And if we have the smarts, we all have the smarts to do it. I can teach you the mechanics of money very simply. It really is relatively simple. But if you don't have that confidence, you don't have that belief in yourself, and the belief that I can do this, this is not that hard, absolutely, then we can, take you to wherever you want to go. So my Minding Her Money program encompasses all of that. So again, I'm working with women and just empowering them, giving them confidence, giving them stability, security. And at the end of the day, their biggest fear is, I don't want to run out of money. I want to make sure that,
Yep.
I don't want to have to live on my kid's couch.
And that's a very legitimate fear. The
Oh, yes,
statistics show us
absolutely.
that women over 65 have a higher likelihood of living impoverished. We have a higher percentage of people who are living in vehicles,
Mhm.
who you see 70 and 80-year-old women working at Walmart or working at, the Amazon depots, right? So everything that they can do in order to survive. What are the three things, if I had to say, what are the three common myths that you encounter from people, or the three common excuses that you encounter from people that is lending itself to not getting on the right side of their money management, not getting onto the right side of their wealth curation, one way or the other?
Yeah, a lot of that stems from what I just shared regarding their money story, their beliefs in themselves, their beliefs in their money story, what they heard growing up, and that subconscious. And I use the image of a iceberg. Okay, on top of the water, you see this very small piece of the iceberg. Underneath is this massive piece of ice. Well, the underneath the water is the bigger piece. That's our subconscious mind. Top of the water is the conscious mind. And our subconscious mind rules 95% of our life. So if we have this belief that money doesn't grow on trees, and oh my gosh, I just can't, I'll never learn how to manage money. Managing money is hard. Rich people are greedy. I'm just not smart enough to do this. All those negative things that you've got in your brain that are just running on its bad tape recorder. If you have that going on, you're going to just attract more of that, and you're going to just become more of that. And that's where the, if you know, familiar with The Secret, I'm sure you are, and the law of attraction. If that's what your identity is, and that's what you're looking at, you will attract more of that. Versus if you go, you know what, okay, I don't have this knowledge, but I can learn it. I'm a smart person. I will absolutely learn this, this information. You need to work on unlearning that bad reprogramming, and that's a whole nother conversation. And then you get help. You reach out to people that you trust. There's so much noise online. I'm going to suggest that you stay off of the Google searches. Sometimes there's information out there that is not accurate. I've run across some information that's not, accurate. So find someone that you trust, someone that you like, preferably from a referral from a friend or somebody that you really respect and that and have a conversation. And if you feel like you're being sold something or pitched a product and it just feels wrong, then run. And we as women have very, very strong intuition. And that would be another piece, is like, trust that gut, trust that intuition, and just have that belief in yourself. And if you don't understand something, this is another piece that I would say, is give yourself grace and know that it's okay if you don't understand it. It's part of life. I mean, as much as I knew about finances and I was the one that managed the money in my marriage, I made some pretty stupid things. I did some pretty bad decisions post-divorce. Well, you know what? Let me clarify that. It wasn't stupid. I'm going to take that back. It was because of the emotional place I was in, and I was distraught, and I was just trying to come up from underwater. I made some bad decisions. I did things that I knew better. And, again, it was like, gosh, I should know better than to have done that. What was I thinking? And I just like, okay, you know what? I move on. I give myself grace. It was a bad time in life. I learned. We all do things in our life that, is a great lesson. And I think every experience, that especially those that are uncomfortable, like a divorce, is a great lesson and opportunity for growth. So again, I will take all that, and that was probably more than 3 things, but
No, that's good. That's good, because this is a conversation that I don't think we can have often enough, because we're seeing young women come out of university so in debt they can't even, like, I think my sister was in her late 30s before she paid off her master's degree. And then you roll from that into the financial obligation if you have children, right? And then as soon as you get your kids off and running, next thing you know, you're going, oh my gosh, I have to be ready for retirement. Well, first of all, I do want to qualify the fact is, I think retirement is overrated. I just think you just have like a repurpose to your life. But that's just my 2 cents. Betty White, she didn't retire till 101, right? So
amen. I'm with you.
so just, find what you love. Now that goes into, I've got a university degree. I'm, got the job. I'm now pivoting. We're seeing a lot of women in their 40s pivot. They want to be, have more control over the legacy that they're leaving in this world. And so walk me through that when you get somebody that is mid 30s that is drowning in university debt, right? And that's a very, very common issue for young people who are now moving into getting married and such.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just make a comment on one thing that you had made before, and then I will come back to my question. So, I did this pivot from financial planning to financial coaching at 62. And I did that.
Wait a minute. You're not over 62.
I'll be 63 in a few months.
Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, Patti, I have to say, my dear, You're like fine wine over there, because you
Oh,
would have
thank
put
you.
you. I honestly, I thought you were right at my age, at that, early 50 stage. This is what good positive mindset does, people. And if you aren't watching this video, if you're listening to audio, you got to go check out Patty, because wow, this is good living. So let's go back to that. Sorry, you totally shocked me.
Well,
Okay.
thank you. Well, thank you. No, but your point is like, yeah, I mean, my friends are talking about Medicare, and I'm like, what's retirement? If I'm loving what I'm doing and I'm making an impact and I'm making a difference, I'll keep going as long as I can, right? I mean, why would you stop? So to your comment about Betty White, yeah, I'll keep going, and that would be awesome. So back to your question regarding, ladies who are coming out of college. Actually, my first book, How to Ditch Your Allowance and Be Richer Than Your Parents, is about working with young adults, high school and college kids who need the foundation of financial education, and they aren't getting it in schools, they aren't getting it at home. So I always start with, let's just really get a great handle on where you are today with regards to what debts you have, and create a plan. And I know that's very simplistic, and something it's simple, but it's not always easy, right? So you've got to really have a proactive plan in paying off those debts. And I talk in my program about the two different methods, which is the snowball and the avalanche way of paying off your debts. But I look at school debt as good debt. You've invested in yourself. There's no better investment to make than in yourself, right? So although it's debt, you still need to pay it off. It isn't like credit card debt where it's bad debt. And I'm a big believer that anything that you do to make yourself better, more educated, personal development, formal education, whatever that is, that's good debt. So applaud yourself. Yes, it's hard that you're carrying this, but what you've learned will make you, just that much more valuable out in the workforce. So we would basically sit down and look at their entire situation, what they're earning, what they're, what's coming in, what's going out, cash flow, and then just put a plan in place as to how we're going to attack that. And depending upon what that looks like, it could take obviously a longer time. But if they are determined to get rid of that debt, then they will do it. I've seen people get out of debt, and in record time, and they are more focused on that immediate gratification, or the delayed gratification, not the immediate gratification. So they're looking at the long term, and they know that doing these smart money moves now will just give them a better future, and that's what the focus is.
So, question for you is the management of money like the consumption of food? The food, if you're going to do, if pizza may give you an immediate satisfaction, but it doesn't give you long-term gain health-wise.
Mhm.
Whereas if you take time and you cut your vegetables and you know what you're intaking, you have a long-term gain. Is that kind of the mindset around money that would be beneficial?
Yes, I think that is a great analogy, and I oftentimes use it when people go, "I don't want to do a budget. I don't like budgets. It's so restrictive." And I use the analogy of a diet. Okay, if you told me I had to weigh my food every day, I would tell you I would use some few choice words, but there's no way I'm going to weigh my food every day, right? That's just not sustainable. So eating well and just being mindful of what you put in your mouth, and exercising and having that, healthy lifestyle is the way to overall be healthy physically, right? And watching what you're spending. I'm not telling you to watch every penny and document every dollar that you spend, and track everything. But if you're mindful of what you're doing, and you're mindful of that immediate gratification, like, do I really want this? Do I really need this? Is this something that I need today? If it's something you need today, like your tire blew out, you need to put a tire on, that's a given, right? But if you're out shopping with friends and you find something you love and it's not a need, and you have all the student debt, you've got to step back and go, you know what? My need to pay off my debt is greater than my need to buy these $200 pair of jeans. I need to focus on getting out of debt. So there is that being just aware, that having that awareness is a huge piece of it. And it takes, willpower, but if the desire is big enough to get out of that debt, then you do that. Not to say that you can't occasionally have some fun, because there is a happy medium. But if you're sitting on a lot of debt, then you've got to focus on getting out of that first.
And I find that a lot of people shop to self-soothe. It's like
Yep,
they're shopping for the the sake of some sort of emotional something or other. Um,
absolutely. I call it retail therapy.
Retail therapy. Yes, yes, and I've seen that. I'm like I I'm literally I had to call my son the other day because I had to go into the mall for something. I said, "What happened to the Sephora store?" And my son goes, "Mom, it moved locations in the mall 4 years ago." Okay, does that tell you how often I go to? I'm like the worst person. If you have a retail store, I'm like one of the worst persons because I'm a repurposer. I you know nothing like a can of spray paint to change the look of a room, and that's not through graffiti, folks. So let's talk about now. We've talked about the 30-year-old who's got university debt and making some of those priorities. Let's talk about I think which is more pressing for a lot of women, those women who are in their mid 40s who are now the sole providers for children. And I personally know two different women that spent their entire inheritance from their parents on just getting divorced and getting
Mhm.
reestablished. What are some ways or some language that they can start internalizing or working through in order to uh, I guess make it more manageable? Because like you say, we see that top piece, but it's really this whole mindset. And when you've got so many other things going on, right? It can become very overwhelming. And then you move into that retail therapy. You end up in that self-soothing space and you can make it worse. What are some of the things that you
Yeah.
work with those women so that they're getting prepared for 65 and 70?
Yeah. There's a lot of life coaching involved with that versus the financial piece because we have to address, especially if they're just fresh out of a divorce, and the statistics of gray divorce is over the top. I mean, those that are over 55 are coming out of 20, 30-year marriages, and suddenly they're by themselves. And so there's that emotional piece. And when you're so distraught and you're so feeling alone and you have this overwhelm of sadness and grief, you've got to deal with that first before you can talk about money, right? I mean, you've got to deal with the financial side, but when you're that distraught, you can't make good financial decisions. And I'm a good case scenario for that. Um, so there's a lot of self-care. There's a lot of what can I do to make sure that I am taking care of me, that I am staying healthy, that I am staying physically healthy, mentally, emotionally healthy, spiritually healthy, because you can't do anything moving forward when you've got, when you're out of kilter with that. So one of the modules in my program is about self-care and getting that place of renewal and finding yourself again. There's a lot of that. Oftentimes the ladies are lost in the marriage, and it's like, okay, let's rediscover who you are. What brings you joy? What lights you up? What is it that you want to do? And so we have those kind of conversations, which really isn't about money per se, finances, but it's all intertwined. And if we address those things, there's less of that retail therapy, right? There's a less of that need to go and get filled with stuff that we know does not fill us for more than maybe an hour after we buy it, right? Um, so there's a lot of that type of work. Again, I'm going to say, give yourself some grace. This is a very difficult thing that you're going through. If you've lost a spouse and you're now a widow, there's the trauma and the grief of losing the spouse. And then when it does come time for the money piece, I'll come back to what I said earlier, and that is that you take the time to learn, take the time to understand what it is that you need to do, get a handle on the finances by looking at what you have as far as assets, finding somebody that you trust. Maybe it's a financial advisor, maybe it's a financial coach, maybe it's a CPA, maybe it's an attorney, whatever it is that you have in your wheelhouse that you trust. Have those conversations. Again, if someone's trying to sell you a product and they're trying to talk fast and sell you something, run. If you can't explain a financial product to somebody who's a fourth grader, then you don't understand the product well enough yourself, and you shouldn't invest in it. So take the time. And if someone's trying to say something to you and you don't understand it, like a financial advisor or whoever's trying to sell you whatever, you just say, you know what, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand that product. You need to slow it down a little bit and explain what it is that, tell me more about this and go deeper. And trust your gut. Again, we are very intuitive. We are very strong in intuition. And if it feels off, it's off.
It feels off, it's off. And I think that practicing what we teach our children, because we teach our children that, trust your intuition. If you feel uncomfortable, call me, pick up the phone and call me. So maybe having, financial recovery buddy, have that tag team. You don't have to do it alone. I want to dive into a bit more around your story of resilience, that moment, because I do believe that success is in the story, and sharing the story allows people to align and say, oh, okay, whew, I'm not alone. Can you share your time of resiliency, that without that moment of resiliency, we wouldn't be having this conversation?
Oh, yes, for sure. So I remember shortly after my divorce, I'm talking like a few weeks, laying on the floor in a fetal position, just sobbing with overwhelm. And how am I going to raise my son? How am I going to, because I was not working at the time. I had left my job to raise him. We had tried for 5 years, side note, and we finally had him by in vitro. So he was a miracle baby. And I just wanted to be with him and for him completely. And funny side note, I will say this now because this is not being, well, no, never mind. I won't. I was going to make an announcement, but he'll probably kill me. So never mind.
Okay. As long as you're not pregnant now, Patti, you're not pregnant, are you?
No, that is a no. Yeah, things aren't functioning. Anyways,
I know, I got raisins. We're not getting wine from this. It's raisins now.
Yeah, this is yeah. I'll wait for my grandkids someday. That's going to be my next joy. But now I totally lost my brain. Oh, my whole resilience. So I remember laying on the floor, sobbing and thinking, how am I going to get through this? And this strange download came into my head, and I feel it was God. Call it the universe, call it angels, whatever it is that resonates with you. But it was a download of, you're going to be okay because you have an understanding of how to manage money. You'll be able to take care of yourself and Blake. It was the most random thought. It was the most random moment. And I thought, well, that was strange, but okay. Yeah, I guess so. And it was a few months later that I thought, I've got to turn this around and somehow teach women someday how to turn around and help women who are also going through this. So that seed was planted many, many, many years ago. But my journey of, for the next 20 plus years, there was highs and lows. I mean, there were days of, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I can't. And the mortgage business, is up and down. It's all commission. There's no base salary. So it was a very volatile kind of income situation. I would have great months and then I would have nothing. And it would be just this ride. But my focus was always, I wanted to be there for my son. And I was there full time. I picked him up every day at school. I took him to school every day. I took him to every, martial art practice. I did everything with him all the time. And for that, I am grateful. I'm blessed. I have no regrets with that. And that is a gift. And I totally am grateful for that gift. I know that it's not something that everybody has, but it came at a cost. I'll keep the words clean, but I worked my butt off, and it was exhausting. Lots of tears, lots of doubts and questioning myself. It's not a linear path. It's a 2-step forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 5 steps back. It's that jagged. And I think that's what happens all through life forever, right? We're always gaining resilience. And I've always said, and I'll kind of end this with this, that our greatest lessons come from our most painful experiences.
Absolutely. And if you allow those painful experiences to uh, percolate and become that positive resource, it can be pieces that help you leave legacy. And that is what I have seen over and over and over and over again in these conversations, is
Yeah.
that the pain is actually your legacy is within those really challenging times. And with our online world and with the connectivity we have, you know, there's no better time ever in the history of the world for women to step forward. And I do understand the being within the real estate sphere. I'm licensed as a real estate agent for 22 years. I was frontline active for 14, a top 1% earner. You know, we would have, and we were 6 and 7 figures annually. Like we were top, and yet there was still this volatility. And I did that. So it was a family business. My kids did the open house with me. We were
Yeah.
connected completely. And my kids
Right.
are great entrepreneurs and great business people, and have my kids as young adults are people that other people meet and they go, wow, they really know how to carry a conversation, or wow, they're so polite, right? And I've heard that ever since my kids were young,
That's
because
awesome.
they got to see that modeled, right? So you know, I want to just, you know, say that there's hope everywhere. And I promise you, if you're listening to this and you are in a rebuild, or you are seeing the beginning of this crash that you know that's about to hit, right? Run it like a surfer, man. Have you ever watched, Patty? Have you ever watched surfers? They
Yes.
dive right into those. They go right in and under it to say, come up out over the top. They're not
Yeah.
shying away from the big waves. Those big waves are the momentum that help them carry the distance. And I thought that was I was actually watching surfing the other day. I don't know. I was jealous. I'm like, I want to go to Hawaii. I haven't been to Hawaii yet. I've been everywhere else, but not Hawaii. And I'm watching this going, wow, that's a life lesson. If
Yeah.
surfers ran away from the big crash of the waves, they would never surf.
Right. Right. Just
So some,
head
yeah,
on. Yeah. And to your point earlier, we become either better or bitter through these experiences in life. And
that's good.
it's our choice. We have choices. We can choose to wake up and go, that idiot ruined my life. I'm forever, blah, blah. Or you can say, you know what? It was nice when it happened. It's unfortunate the way it ended. Whatever your story is, however you want to frame it, but make the choice to become better as a result. And your kids are watching, like you said. That legacy is something that you want to teach your kids. Um, you have integrity, you have dignity, you have this character, and that's the greatest gift to give your kids, in terms of life lessons. And they're watching you. And again, if you're just coming out of something that is just so painful, and it's still raw, um, give yourself some time. You will come out the other side. There's absolutely no question. I'll share one story real quick. I remember being in therapy. I love my therapist. I remember going through therapy, and this was early on, and I mentioned to my therapist, I said, I am so tired of just crying and feeling like this. When is this going to stop? When am I going to stop feeling so horrible? And she said, an emotional pain trauma is like a physical pain trauma, in the sense that if you were in a car accident and your leg was completely shattered, and you have bones broken and muscles torn and ligaments torn, and you're just completely trashed, you can't look at it and go, come on, heal, hurry up, heal, come on, heal. You have to take care of it. You've got to make sure that it's addressed by a doctor, and it's cleaned, and it's put in a cast, and it's with medication, whatever it is. You've got to stay off that leg. You've got to do whatever you've got to do to heal it. If you try to just start jogging the next day, obviously you will fall on your face and you will have permanent damage. So give yourself time to heal. Give yourself the opportunity to, take care of yourself. Focus on your self-care, and know that it will happen in times of, it's nature that will heal it, but it's also how you take care of yourself during that time that will help you propel that healing. And I thought that was a fantastic analogy. I just couldn't like will myself to get better. It was like, okay, I can take care of myself and do what I need to do to get onto the path of my wellness. And that really did help me. So I hope that helped.
Really good advice, and giving ourselves grace. I love how you keep bringing that word in, is giving yourself grace, giving yourself the space and time to process and really, heal, get that solid foundation underneath
Yeah,
you, so you can actually, you have, what is it, a house built on sand, right?
right,
Versus a house built on a solid foundation.
right.
So, definitely give yourself time, and then work with people to tackle things that, like your finances, tackle the things around your mindset. Sometimes when we have control in one space, it gives us enough safety and security so we can actually really work, or have that emotional energy to work on other things.
Hmm.
Um, Want to talk books? You are a 4 times published author. I'm going to give everybody a hint here. It's really easy if you want to see everything a single author has published, by going to Amazon Author Central. Author Central has profiles of all of our authors out there, and on there you can actually see all the different books that that specific person has put out. So we're going to put up your Money Rules 101. I do have that. It's on Amazon.com. Money Rules 101 Masters You. However, you can also go to Amazon and look up Patti Handy Author, and you'll actually be taken to hers, and you'll see everything she's ever been part of or published. So, you love one thing, typically we end up going down the rabbit hole. So, Patty, I want you to talk to me about what are the 4 books, and what can readers expect from engaging in your books?
So one book is a children's book, and I wrote that many, many years ago. It's called "The Feeling in My Belly of Peanut Butter and Jelly," and it's really about finding the joy in simple things in life. And it's written for, you know, kindergartners, 5, 6 years old, or whatnot. The other book that I wrote was post-divorce, and that was 50 Ways to Thrive After Divorce. And it was just 50 things that I did personally that helped me to get out of, get to the other side of my divorce. How to Ditch Your Allowance and Be Richer Than Your Parents is that money thing we spoke of. And then the Money Rules 101, that's a rewrite of the How to Ditch Your Allowance book. So that's the most current version. I wouldn't buy both. Those are two, they're basically the
Okay.
same. Yeah, the Money Rules 101 is an updated version, a rewritten one, and more current. So the Money Rules 101, Master Your Money Before It Masters You. That was also written for the high school or college, but it's also for the parents who have, can learn. It's just, money rules are money rules, right? It's just written in a very simple English. It's just very simplified. So it's not some heavy duty jargon and complicated conversation. It's made simple.
And the nice thing is math is definitive. 1 and 1 always equals 2. And that's the beauty of math, is that it's one of the very few things that are out there in this crazy world we're in that is not an opinion piece. It's literally just an equation. And I think understanding the movement of money and not being afraid of it, I think, is really important. Um, just to give you safety and security, because eh, the reality is more women statistically are less likely to be funded through traditional funding for business startups, or these are realities. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's the way it's always going to be, but I like to live in the here and now. And if I know what the reality is, I'm going to be able to to navigate better than going, oh, I wish, I wish. I hear all the time from people who are wanting to start a business and they want to be the exception. Well, let me tell you, there is no exception. You're going to starve the first year. You're probably going to starve the second year. The third year, you may start breaking even if you're building a solid foundation underneath your business. These are reality. You know, everybody goes, oh, well, what about overnight successes? And I said, they were in business for 14 years. I don't think that's
Right.
overnight. So give yourself time and grace. I love that you keep bringing in that grace piece because nothing worthwhile happens overnight. It's all a process. Um, let's go. I want you to share all your socials. We've got some different socials here. We did have the mindinghermoney.com you can go to, and at Minding Her Money, you said that you have a couple free gifts, or can you share with us what we can find at Minding Her Money?
Yeah, mindinghermoney.com is the site you can go and download. There's two actual roadmaps. One is the overall roadmap that I sort of wish I had when I was going through my divorce, the 9 areas of your life that you need to address, and is basically the roadmap to my program that I offer. And then there's the Badass Investing Roadmap, which is kind of the 3 things within investing that you should be focused on. There's a short training video, and if you have any interest in learning more about my program, you have an opportunity to book a call with me. And I, will kind of go through your situation and look at where you're at with things and determine if my program's a good fit for you. And then we can just kind of go from there.
And if people want to find you, follow you, kind of observe, because sometimes we don't want to immediately engage, but we want to watch from the
Sure.
sidelines to see if this is the right space. What is your best platform? We've got up on the screen, and we will have in the show notes your Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, but where is it that you like to play the most? Where can we really engage with you?
I probably spend the most time on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Women Soaring Solo, and I spend time in there. I do like Instagram and LinkedIn. I don't do TikTok. I don't do Twitter. I don't do
You're not
Pinterest.
dancing on TikTok? Come on,
I'm
Patti.
not doing the TikTok thing. Yeah, it's yeah. That
Yeah.
wouldn't be pretty.
Oh,
So,
we'll have some Elaines going on. I'll do an Elaine with you.
yeah,
It's
there you
Seinfeld,
go.
yeah.
There you
So,
go. But yeah, those are the 3 places that's best to find me. And I just recently did the Instagram business page, so that's probably the best place to start. I have a personal page, but the business page is the better one. That's the Patti, and that's Patti with an I, Handy with a Y. That's a Patti dot Handy, is the business, and that
excellent.
just got that started here recently.
Again, success leaves clues. Not everybody's perfect. Everybody has a journey and a story. And if your journey and story aligns with Patti, do reach out. I think you're probably in pretty safe hands in just, that connectivity. I love the fact that you said grace so many times and that be better, not bitter. That's going on a t-shirt. That's going to be on a coffee mug. That is so good. That is, and I know I've heard that, but I don't know
I
where I
can't
heard
take
that.
credit for it. Yeah, I don't know where I heard it either. I can't take credit for it. So, and I'm sorry, I don't know where I heard it from, but I've heard it out in the world.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
At this point in time, I really like our guests to share a quote because life can have tough days, and sometimes we have to borrow inspiration from others. If you could share with us a quote that inspires you or something that you identify with, that would be great, and why.
Sure. So, one of my favorite quotes is by Albert Einstein, and it's only a life lived in the service of to others is worth living. And I think at the end of the day, um, the like I said earlier, I think Oprah said the legacy that we live or the legacy that we leave is the lives that we've touched it. I completely botched that up, but the legacy that we leave is the lives that we've touched. That came out right. So I feel like if I can make a difference, in a thousand ladies' lives, and then they can turn around and and then touch 1,000 people, the ripple effect out into the world is so huge and so amazing. And I think we need that extra love right now. And I think it's just so important to, it's fulfilling, it's impactful. It's not, it's not just a paycheck. So,
And I would say, I believe that as women, I think a paycheck without the feeling of being impactful is a hollow revenue.
100%.
I really do think that women, we want to make a difference, right?
Yeah.
I just awesome. Like, such great insight. And everybody do check out Patti's site. All the information's in the show notes. And it's okay if you are 50 years old and you're just learning and you're feeling cornered or anything like that. It's okay, because here's the reality. Take good care of your body, take good care of your mind, and you'll live another 40 years. You're only at the halfway mark. You still got time to turn it around, and give yourself grace, as Patti says. Give yourself grace and surround yourself with those that can help move you forward.
Support you and love you forward. Yes, 100%.
100%. All right, folks. Thank you again for sharing your time with myself and my amazing guest today, Patti. And you know what? Do give yourself some grace. Give yourself the space to recognize that you are worth it, and lean in to those that can support you so you can live the life you want to have. Until next time, be good to yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here today at Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I'd love to invite you to our resilient community at resilientgift.com. That's resilientgift.com, and we'll send you our magazine and tickets for upcoming events and all sorts of cool things we do here. So be sure to keep watching, and you know what? Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, because we all know that sharing is caring.